Hello, this is Dave. One of the things I want to spend more time doing now that I'm retired is spend time at my off-grid property in northern Michigan. I originally bought this property just so I would have a place to get away from the world. I wanted a place remote enough so that I could shoot my gun and not bother anybody. I wanted a place remote enough so that I could be there and people couldn't even tell I was there. I finally found 20 acres of wilderness land at a good price. I was single at the time, so I could pay cash for it. That was back in the 1990s. I made many camping trips there with my dog. Sometimes a friend would join me. Eventually, I was able to take my kids camping there, and it was a great place for my sons to start deer hunting when they got old enough to do that. My dog is long gone now, and my kids don't go camping with me anymore. My wife never goes camping. I still love going up there, being the only person on 20 acres, and just enjoying the peace and quiet. Of course, there are the neighbors. This guy likes to come and visit when I am not there. And then there is this guy and some of his friends. And this bunch. My land is within easy driving distance of Lake Michigan. I love to take long walks down the shore of Lake Michigan. The enormous body of fresh water, the beautiful beach and sand dunes, I think this is one of the most beautiful places in the world. Don't tell anyone about this place because everyone would want to go here. Getting back to my land, you can see in the distance an old travel trailer. It was already old when I pulled it up there in the 1990s. My dog and I used to sleep in there. Our entertainment was listening to the mice scratching in the walls all night. Whoever came up with the saying, quiet as a mouse, obviously had no experience with mice. Eventually, I started work on the wooden shack that you can see here. It was supposed to be just a roof and 4 posts, so we would have a place to go to get out of the rain. But when my sons started deer hunting, I made the shack bigger and added walls and eventually a wood-burning stove that my brother gave me when he was renovating his house. Meanwhile, the old trailer was deteriorating and the mice completely owned it. I decided to get rid of it. I took it apart screw by screw, burned the wooden parts, and gave the metal parts to a friend from church who collects scrap metal. You can see the trailer here in the process of demolition while some of the neighbors were visiting. As the years went on, I kept making improvements to the shack to make it more civilized, but it still was always a damp, mouse-filled shack with a dirt floor. Finally, I got behind on the roof issues, and we got mold in the shack. My younger son had to leave a hunting trip early because the mold was making him sick. I decided to make a new shack with a wooden floor sealed up so that theoretically mice could not get in. I was going to just buy materials and construct it myself. My sons made some suggestions about pre-made sheds. I consulted a former colleague from work, and he told me to look on Facebook Marketplace for Amish-built cabins. I did, and I found someone near my land that would build a very nice-looking shed for about the same money as it would cost me just to buy materials. And I was confident that his workmanship would be better than mine. We made a deal for a cabin that would be 10 by 16 on the inside with a 4-foot front porch. It would have a metal roof, so I would never need to worry about a leaky roof again. He would cut the hole in the roof for the chimney and install the part of the chimney that goes through the metal roof. He would stain it, so I knew that would be done right. I found a place on my land that was not too far from being level, and I made a level spot with my shovel and a 2x4 and a level. Later, my son came up with a transit, and together we made sure the spot was indeed level. My land is on very sandy soil, so I did not need to do any other preparation. A level spot in the sand was all I needed. The new cabin arrived on a trailer. This is on the dirt road in front of my land. The trailer tilted to slide the cabin off. The delivery guy put some wheels under the back of the cabin and picked up the front with what they call a mule. Then he had to pull it about a quarter mile through the woods down my windy 2-track to get it to where I needed it. My son and I had cleared away branches and small trees so that we had what we thought was a pretty wide path. but it still turned out to be a challenge for the delivery guy to get past the trees and around the corners. I had my chainsaw ready to go in case we couldn't get past something. Finally, we reached my level spot. The cabin fit into it like a glove. The delivery guy went inside with a level and declared it to be perfectly level. There it is, in its new home. It is sitting on pressure-treated beams, and the sandy soil drains really well, so there is no need to put it up on blocks. I had to put my stepladder on top of these cinder blocks to get up high enough to put the cap on the chimney. We have the official rubber boot to make the seal between the chimney and the roof. The next project was to move the wood-burning stove from the old shack to the new cabin. Here's where I am pulling it out of the old shack. I made a wood frame for it to ride on. I cut a bunch of logs to use as rollers. I connected a cable with a hand-operated winch to provide the pulling force. Here it is outside the old shack. The new cabin is uphill from the old shack. I backed up my car to the new cabin and connected the cable to the trailer hitch. Then I winched it up the hill, inserting logs along the way to keep rolling the wooden frame on the logs. I got it up to the new cabin, but now I needed to get it up onto the porch and then inside the cabin. I was able to get it aimed uphill to push it onto the porch. I could not pull it into the cabin. I had to push it. In order to get enough force, I used the 2x4 as a lever. It's amazing what some leverage can do. Finally, I got it into the corner of the cabin where it needed to be. I had installed a 5-foot by 5-foot area of tile for underneath the wood burner. My goal was ultimately to get it up on patio stones on top of the tile. I put down this rubber mat between the patio stones and the tile. Then, using the 2x4 as leverage and eventually making use of a scissors jack, I was able to raise the wood burner step by step and place patio stones underneath it with each step. With the patio stones in place, I cut away the excess rubber mat. Finally, I connected the exhaust pipes to the chimney, and now I have heat. The next step here is to install drywall on the walls next to and behind the stove. Once the wood burner was in place, the next step was to install some off-grid electricity. My son gave me a solar panel for Christmas, so I installed it on some posts. I ran the wires through the wall to connect to the controller and the batteries. That's the current state of my off-grid cabin. More to come as I do more work to make it meet my needs in my off-grid paradise.